Oregon Coast, and welcome to the James and Randall Show. I'm Randall, and on the line with me right now via phone is my good friend James and colleague from the great state of Oklahoma. What's up for tonight, buddy?
Randall, it's good to be back on with you. I've got something interesting to talk about this evening, and I want to start out the show with a quote from a former president of the United States, Andrew Jackson. And here is the quote: "By the eternal, I saw nothing, but I heard enough to convince me that I'd rather fight the British, still with the torment they call the Bell Witch." Tonight, our episode is going to be about the Bell Witch of Adams, Tennessee. And does the Bell Witch still haunt Adams?
Wow, that's a wonderful topic, my good friend. And you know what? I think it does. But we don't know what's going on out there at this point in time. But we do know that there's been evidence out there from many paranormal researchers. But there's also a lot of skeptics who say this never happened.
That's so true. And, with anything, any paranormal, phenomenon, there's always people that are going to say, it didn't happen or it doesn't exist. But there's people out there that know it did. And, the Bell Witch has been alive in Adams, Tennessee, which is in Robertson County, for more than 150 years now. And, not much has changed there from today to back in the time that this was going on. And this was in the early 1800s, around 1815, 1817, somewhere in there. And this started out with John Bell's daughter. What happened was Mr. Bell saw a strange black dog-like creature in his cornfield one evening, and then this haunting, this activity started soon afterwards with knocking in the walls, and all kinds of strange phenomenon happened there at their cabin.
Wow. Now, didn't John Bell Sr. And the family move there in 1804?
Yeah, it was the early 1800s. But I think around 1817 or so is when the first things started happening. That's when he saw this strange animal. They say it was similar to a dog, and he saw it in one of his cornfields. And then that unexplained knocking sounds were heard all over the house, and then it wasn't long before what they call the witch began talking to the family and playing various pranks. So about 1817 is really what I found when the phenomenon started happening.
Yeah, and I also understand, James, that the family had gone through some horrible hauntings. I mean, there was pinching and slapping of the family members, but also on the lighter side, there were conversations between what they call the witch, or we might even say poltergeist, and also handshaking gestures to visitors to the Bell family farm.
That's right. It seems to all be centered around right there at the farm, and there's also a mysterious cave that's there on that property, and at some point in time they think there was an Indian burial deep in that cave, but some looters came and robbed that burial site. So there's a lot of different things that could be attributed to this haunting.
Well, let's go back for a moment, if you will, to the future president who was a general at the time when he visited the Bell family farm. Actually, himself and Sam Houston, who was a prominent citizen of Nashville, took a small party out to the farm, where they experienced some terrible and frightening paranormal activity.
That's right. Jackson traveled from Nashville to Adams because the tale of these occurrences spread fairly rapidly. And, his story was when he was headed to the Bell farm, the wheel of his wagon became locked up, and no amount of effort from him or his men would budge the wagon from moving. It was on a flat, dry piece of land. And then there was this, what they describe as a sharp metallic voice heard from the woods that said, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight." And apparently the witch did make her appearance known later in the evening, in full force. She was pinching and slapping different people, and were shaking the tents of the soldiers. And wasn't long after that Jackson decided it was time to get the heck out of there.
Well, do I understand that they left the next morning, or did they leave right away?
I'm not sure, and I don't know if history will tell us that. But from the account, what I understand, they didn't stick around very long. The activity was so violent that, quite frankly, it sounds like it scared them.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because I'm really curious about one thing on this, is that there's a couple of fellows by the name of Brian Dunning and Ben Radford who say that this haunting never existed, that there is no documentation to prove or to substantiate the haunting. Is that true?
Right. Well, when you got a guy that was a famous general and later to become the president of the United States saying he had experiences there, what better witness do you have, to be honest with you, Randall?
I agree with you 100%. And I will tell you, the main reason why they say, now this is something that I don't know if you've heard, they say that General Jackson, or President Andrew Jackson's travels were well documented. However, they say that there's no documentation saying that he went to the Bell family farm. But here's the big kicker right here. If you're going to run for president, which later down the road he did, why would you want to say you were there in fear of ridicule and that the opponent in the presidential race might bring this up and call you a witch hunter?
Absolutely, and back then Christianity had a strong hold on most of America, and everybody were Christians. And if you think about it, it wasn't too long before this happened that they were hanging people that were accused of being witches in Salem. So, and anybody that dealt in things like that or had a close connection with that were considered to be in cahoots with the devil. So people didn't really want to talk about that a whole lot,
Absolutely. And this has been going on so long. This is probably one of the oldest unsolved paranormal investigations, stories, folklore, legends, call it what you will. But it's one of the oldest in American history.
It sure is, and a lot of that activity that was going on there was really focused toward John Bell himself and his daughter named Betsy. And they say the witch would slap her, and you could hear smacking sounds, and then shortly afterwards, red marks would develop on the side of Betsy's face, and she would get shaken violently, and all kinds of occurrences. And to me, they call that a poltergeist, and the sounds that this entity was making does coincide with poltergeist activity. But when it's actually slapping someone and talking to them and shaking hands, and that's more of an intelligent haunting. And to me, Randall, I see demon. That's my first thought in this case. Is if it's that intelligent, that's got to be a demonic haunt.
I see what you're saying. And demons, my friend, we've been through it. You and I have been through this. We've been through the poltergeist, the spiritual part of it. We could never figure out what was going on at the location we were investigating.
That's right, and when you have stuff like that, it's just not, that residual haunting that people talk about, it's just something happening. Whether you're there or not, it's going to happen. And poltergeist activity usually doesn't last more than a year, but this went on for a long time. And they say there's still things that go on that property today, and frankly, Randall, I wouldn't doubt it.
Amen to that. Well, listen, my friend, we've got to cut it short tonight. So I just want to say that we're going to get back on this subject again in later episodes of our show. And if anybody wants to comment or email us or wants to be a part of our show via phone, here's how to get a hold of us. You can contact us at jamesrandalltalk@gmail.com. That's James Randall Talk at gmail.com. Folks, get a hold of us. Anybody out in Adams, Tennessee or Robertson County who has any knowledge on this paranormal activity at the Bell Family Farm, get a hold of us. I'll give you that email address one more time. James Randall Talk at gmail.com. And I got to tell you, my friend, it's been wonderful tonight, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, it's been great. And all I can say to any skeptics out there is if you don't believe in ghosts, go visit Adams, Tennessee, and then give us a call and tell us what you think. This is James saying good night from Oklahoma, and we hope to hear from you soon.
And this is Randall from the southern Oregon coast, where it's blustery, rainy, and downright miserable. We'll talk to you soon, folks. Good night.